was it Beethoven? Was it Mozart? Was it um, whatever music you love? Was it Indian raga? Was it chant? Was it jazz? Was it, pop music? What is it that does it for you? What is it that helps us come to this place of stillness where we just know? For me, that's what I'm passionate about exploring now, is how is music a medicine, and especially a medicine, in these times. Like if I imagine my son being alive now, when there's so much, he didn't go through COVID, he didn't go through this, just the political turmoil that we're experiencing worldwide. It's like, it was the timing, and it was meant to build this bridge for me to help share how is music a medicine for all of us. And there's just been so many beautiful. There was one situation where a dear friend was in the hospital. She was pregnant, and something was not right with the baby, and she was 6 months. And I asked her, could I bring some of the bowls, and can I play for you and the baby? And oh, yes. And so I went to the hospital, and I especially played a ruby bowl. It was a ruby bowl at the heart, an F note. And I just felt I needed to be there, but I felt it wasn't good. It just felt like, I don't know. And then when I was driving home, I stopped at a stop sign near my house, and it was the house that Dylan and I had lived in together. And I just lost it. I started yelling at him. Why can't you be here? Everybody loved you. Why can't you be here? I lost it. I really lost it. Thank goodness I was at a stop sign. My radio popped on, and on the screen, it said Dylan, source unknown. And then it starts playing the song, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world, by Louis Armstrong. And I'm like, wait, what? What just happened? I mean, again, it's like there was no making that up. I took my cell phone, I took a picture, I pulled over and stopped the car, and I was just shaking. It was like, you're talking to me. If you could answer my crying at you and my yelling at you, if you could answer me, you answered me. You answered me, and you said, Mom, think to yourself, what a wonderful world. It was just, and his name was on the screen. Source unknown. It was just, that was really a wild one. And it just makes you think, like, we can't be victims. We can't be victims of our circumstance, but it's so easy to go, why me, God? Why? And I learned very quickly. I guess you learn what you're made of, and you learn the core of who you are, because how you deal with grief and loss and illness and the things that we have to go through, as you know so well, how we deal with them defines who we are and who we become. And I knew another thing, like I was in talk therapy, and I was trying to talk through the grief, but as my singing teacher had told me years earlier, don't listen to yourself. Nothing vibrates there. Your body is what's vibrating. Your body is the instrument, right? And in the talk therapy, it put a Band-Aid on it, but it didn't get to the core feelings. Like you could talk and talk and talk and talk, but it didn't change the fact. And it was like, okay, Jeralyn, how are you you can't change the fact, but how are you going to change the feelings in your body that are just like, they're just trapped in there. They're just like, I'm just dying of grief. And I think just the understanding that there really is something so much bigger than us, and that communication that's possible for everybody. And if we try to figure it out with our thinking minds, we can't really. It's a gift. Like I said earlier, like when I was so in despair, I couldn't find him, and that made me panic more. And the more that I've opened the channel, like how you talk about grounding down to the earth, rooting at your root chakra, opening to the light, being present in this central channel, opening to the light that we are, like the more I could do that and just let the grief flow and let it have its own ebb and tide, the more my son was just there doing really funny things. I mean, just funny things, things that made me go, oh, wow. There was one situation I was singing a concert. So then I started to make music. Finally, like it took me 2 years. I couldn't sing, and I couldn't open my voice really for almost 2 years. And then it was like mom. And I had the courage to do the first album. And it's fun because it's called Forever Love. And I'm now 10 years later doing a second album with the same arranger who went through that with me. Because there were times I'd had to leave the recording studio and just weep. I couldn't get the song out of my voice. And now we're taking famous classical melodies and infusing singing bowls and instruments. So there won't be words, there'll be more just vocalises like that with really traditional classical melodies.
Oh, so beautiful. Yeah, I can resonate on so many levels. It's beautiful.
I think the signs, I guess, just the signs of, yeah, mom, I'm here, and mom, I'm guiding, and mom, I'm a part of your life. And, one thing led to the next, and one thing led to the next, and then the next. And he was always there. Mom, we're doing sound healing, and then we're doing the summit, and then we did a second summit. And, oh, I know what I was going to tell you. I was singing a song from that album, and at this concert in Canada with Greg Braden, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Bruce Lipton, and they had hired me to do, celestial music with the bowls and my voice. So I did this beautiful concert, and after the concert was over, there was a long lineup of people that wanted to share. And this was one of the first concerts I had done with that vulnerable music from the album, playing the bowls, and actually being in the public eye again. And he was a young man in his late 20s, a farmer in Canada. And he said to me, I need to tell you, your son came to me during the concert, and I could feel his hand. He was scratching my cheek. He was scratching my cheek, and he said, I'd been thinking about leaving the planet. He just said, life's been really hard for me. And your son said to me, don't you dare do that. It's not your time. It is not your time. And he said, I could feel the physicalness of this being just telling me, like, shape up, young man. And, I don't know, that just touched me. It just touched me so much. Like, and there's all different kinds of communications of people sharing, like that Dylan communicates with them, and helps them in a moment where they've lost sight of purpose or lost sight of light. So I don't know. I mean, this journey it never ceases to amaze me. Of course I miss him. And just having the 10th anniversary, like, of course I miss him. But life became something else. And we have to learn to accept our destiny. And the more we fight it, it's just awful. I had a moment where after the visitation that I told you about, when I went back upstairs and then I saw that little white feather in my nightgown, and there'd be things like that would just really uplift me and give me hope. And then there'd be things where I'd just go, I can't go on. And I had a moment where I just thought, you know what? I'm going to go in the kitchen and I'm going to take a knife and I'm going to just put it in my heart, because I can't bear the pain in my heart. It's like you can't put it in words. And instead of doing that, I called my mother, and I was just weeping. And I said, Mom, and she knew exactly where I was. She was very close to Dylan too. And she just said to me, if you take your life, I'm going to kill you first. And I just was like, it was so sobering. And my mom, she's 5'3" and 125 pounds. She's very small. But she got it. She knew how in despair I was and how much I had sunk into the grief and hopelessness. And it was just like, Mom, there's no reason to go on. And she was just like, if you kill yourself, if you think about that, I'm going to kill you first if you take your life. And that sobered me. And I never fell to that level of depth since that moment. Because it really was like, the deepest kind of despair, and I never went there again. She sobered me. I mean, it was really like, she sobered me to the point that it was like, okay, there really is something much more beyond what we can see. And my job is to say yes to it and to be present and to be courageous and to know that our son's passings have a bigger purpose. You wrote a book. You're doing this beautiful work that you're doing. Like, you probably wouldn't have done it if your beloved boy hadn't have passed. I would not be here having this conversation with you. So it's like, can we be big enough to accept, like Dr. Sue would say to me, big beings take on big projects.